So, like a little boy at Christmas, I was too excited to wait and tell you what these 19 tasks can do for you. But before I do that, I'd like to dedicate this video to my daughter. The determination to see you has got me to where I am now, and I thank you for that as well. We're currently in a state of conscious awakening, and I went to an event last night and I met a lot of people who are on the same path at the moment. It's funny when you start to think that you're going a little bit crazy because you keep seeing signs everywhere, and you feel a little bit alone. But when you go to these events, you realise there's a lot of people out there that think and feel the same way as us. That basically we are just becoming consumers and just doing the same things day in and day out, and not actually living our lives to their full potential. I was an addict of desperate proportions for 17 years. I say was because I no longer feel the need to carry that cunt of a monkey around on my back anymore. I don't believe I have to hand myself over to a higher power. I believe that higher power was inside me the whole time, I just didn't know how to access it. And I believe that you can access it as well, so you no longer have to carry that monkey around on your back. When you realise you're that higher power that they're telling you need to find, you can kick that monkey to the curb, get your highs from life instead. I genuinely do not want to drink or take drugs today. I'm on that much of a high permanently. People think that I'm on drugs on a day-to-day basis without even taking anything. These are bold claims, but believe me, I will prove them to you. So when you find out that there's a light inside of you, and you learn how to manifest that light, the shadows that have been plaguing you for a while just disappear. They've got nowhere to hide. What I'd like to do when you do manifest this light, and when I teach you how to do this, is to take your light and, like a lighthouse, just draw in other light ships, and do what I'm trying to do with you, and basically just help everybody. Because I believe we can all help each other to become the best versions of ourselves. We were all connected, kind of like a Wi-Fi at one point, but from day-to-day things try and disconnect us all. I mean, you see people on a day-to-day basis on the train sit there, and it's almost like people want to talk to each other, but they'll make eye contact and then just pull their phone out and stare at their phone for 30 minutes. It's fucking insane. I mean, say hello to the person next to you. I mean, they're not going to bite you. You'll probably find out they've got a lot in common with you, and you can have a decent conversation with them. Now, I had a bit of an awakening last year when I turned 33. To some of you that are already awake or are kind of sensing that something's out there, or something's not right, or something's going in the right direction now, the number 33 corresponds to the amount of vertebrae we have in our spine. If you look it up, you'll see the spiritual reasons behind all of this as well. I'm not going to go into too much because I'm currently writing a book on all of this and how this works, but doing the suggested yoga that I've suggested you do in one of the steps will definitely help you in this area. Your body is a vibrational tool, and in order to be picking up that energy that you want to pick up and draw to yourself, this tool needs to be finely tuned. Another thing I'm going to touch on is we all have what is called 7 chakras. They run through here to here. Basically, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail. I don't want to scare you off too much. But by eating all of the organic foods and drinking all the liquids I've been asking you to drink for the last month, you will have cleansed your body, and you're probably finding that you're slightly more empathetic to people now. You might sense when you're talking to someone whether they're upset before you start talking to them, and that will guide where your conversation is going to go. Your senses will feel a little bit better. If somebody cuts you up in their car while you're driving to work, instead of getting angry and trying to drag them out their car and punch them in the face, you might actually think to yourself, hang on a minute, this person might be rushing to a hospital, or his girlfriend might be pregnant, or you basically just look at things from a different perspective instead of rushing into them or just doing everything for your own ego or doing it for selfish reasons. I'll give you an example of some of the craziness that's happening for me at the moment. I mean, if something's bothering me, or I have a question that I want answering, I don't quite know how to go about getting the answer. I'm doing simple things like walking into a Waterstones bookshop, finding a section, picking out a book at random, opening that book and Literally on the page that I open the book, there will be an answer there for me. It's that crazy at the moment, and I believe you can get to this point as well. It's just all about being connected. I currently feel a level of connection that Kevin Bacon would have you believe that EE have at the moment, whereas if you're actually on EE like myself, you'll realise that this is not the case, and the reception with them is pretty shit. But the possibilities of awakeness are pretty much endless. Before the media try and get this taken down, or try to brand me as someone who thinks there's some sort of profit, I want to make it clear that I'm not. I'm exactly the same as anyone else out there. You just need to find the light in yourself. I see myself more as a pilgrim looking for answers, and I had a lot of questions, and I have found a lot of answers recently. And today with the internet, I wanted to share them all with you, and I want you to partake in sharing them with everybody else. I feel we're in this together, and we can all do a lot of good with that. To the people around me that are further on in their journey, and you know who you are, you planted a seed in me a while ago. I suppose you saw something and you believed in me, and it's helped me believe in myself and got me to this point where I am. So I'd like to thank you as well. As I said, you know who you are. So I went to an event last night. It was hosted by Russell Brand. It was in St James's Church in London, and the energy in this room was so good. Everybody was so positive, and we're all on the same page. And it was quite surreal actually to have a top shagger like Russell Brand say hello handsome. It does wonders for your ego, and my ego does like to be massaged quite a lot, but luckily I drop kicked that motherfucker back into place pretty quickly. My ego, that is, not Russell, before you start to get excited, because at the end of the day we are all equal and we're all here to help each other. Now if you're living your life day to day, going to the same job every day, feeling like you're just a slave to doing the same things in and out every day over and over again, and watching the same shit TV and same fucking adverts that are just making you want to buy shit you don't need, handbags, shoes, cars, fucking alcohol. Alcohol is going to make your life perfect. Go and buy this drink and you'll get all the girls. Go and buy this drink and boys will fancy you. It's just fucking terrible. If you feel this way and you feel like there's going to be a change, or you've got a slight suspicion that you're waking up, then I kind of want you to take these next things that I'm going to say to you and see if they resonate with you. Now, if you've got a pen and paper handy, it might help if you used to write some of this down. But I believe we emit our own time. Now, if you look up the word emit, it means to create or to make. Now, if you write down emit, and then you turn that around and you write it backwards, it's time. I think there's a lot of signs like this out there that people don't pick up on, but when you start to wake up, you start to pick up on these signs. It's quite refreshing actually, considering we've been watching all this shit TV that's been fucking rammed down our necks to make us believe that we're insecure and we need to buy the latest thing in order to actually fucking stand out and be somebody in this life. Okay, so now write down the word enjoying yourself. Okay, now underneath it, write down in, joy, in yourself. So now if we take this and we break it down, it basically means in order to love anybody else, you've got to be able to love yourself first. How can you expect anybody else to love you if you don't love yourself first? You've got to find that light within yourself first, be comfortable in your own skin, and find out who you are before you can start to expect anybody else to love you. Does that make sense? Now, one of the tasks that I've asked you guys to do in October is to try and eat more vegetables, and to try and make sure those vegetables are organic. The reason I say try to make sure they're organic is because obviously they're not available everywhere, and eating more vegetables is going to be good for you, just eating more vegetables. But let's take a look at GMOs, genetically modified organisms. If we was to turn that around, it's OMG, oh my god. Do I think we should be eating these foods? No, they definitely haven't got the nutritional value that organic foods have got in them. And I reckon you will feel a bit of a difference eating organic compared to normal veg, especially once you've implemented it for over 30 days. You definitely will notice a difference. Now, the pharmaceutical industry makes shitloads of money every year from pushing drugs down people's necks. I mean, my dad's been on about 3,000 different types of tablets in the last couple of months just for an itching condition. None of them have worked, but it just shows you the potential for money these pharmaceutical companies have with all these doctors prescribing drugs to you. This is just one of my perceptions, but I'd like you to write down the word medication. Now, once you've written down medication, I'd like you to pop the C out of there and just replace it with a T. Can you see what we've done there? We've taken the word medication and replaced it with meditation. Now, I think what a lot of people are failing to see these days is that with their busy schedules and all the advertising on TV and what we're made to believe, you're actually never really in the now. If you read Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, you're constantly thinking about the past and what the past makes you now. And you're constantly thinking into the future, thinking in the future it's going to be okay, but you're never present in the actual time. So if you meditate for 10 minutes a day and bring yourself into the now, I think there's a lot to be said for that, especially from a health perspective, mentally and physically. I've noticed huge difference from I meditate for 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes before I go to bed. This makes my brain function better. If I have an argument with someone now, I feel a lot more confident in my reactions in that argument. Physically, I haven't been ill since. Yes, I've stopped taking drugs. Yes, I've stopped drinking alcohol. These will be big factors in that, obviously. But I'm around people that are ill all the time. I think it makes a huge difference to you mentally and physically if you can just disconnect from life for 10 minutes a day. And I definitely recommend you should try it. Now, back to the task where I asked you to cut out TV for 30 days and actually pick up a book and read instead. I think television programs are called television programs for a reason, because you're sitting there and they're actually programming you to actually believe that you need to go out and buy all this shit to make yourself feel good. It's programming you to believe that you need to use this toothpaste, you need to use this hair product. It's basically just making you consume. And if you was to write down the word television for me now, let's break this up and put tell, and then instead of the L, put lie, L-I-E, and then vision. It's telling lies with vision. So it's just making you believe all this bullshit so that you go out and spend more money. Does that make sense? So are you awake yet? If, like me, you feel like you're starting to awaken to all of this around you, why not give these 19 steps a go in October? As I said, it's called Stoptober. People generally give up alcohol for the duration of this month. I believe that energy around that will make it easier for you to implement these 19 steps. Now, for those of you that feel you are already wide awake, I'd like you to picture this fairy tale. And I say fairy tale because this is quite far-fetched, but imagine if this was true. Now, imagine the possibility of this. It's the 9th of September 2014. There's a rock and roll band, and they decide that they're going to write an album and launch it and give it to the world for free. Now, how could they do this? Now, there's a guy called Steve Jobs. He's got a little company you've probably heard of called Apple. He was a self-renowned hippie and quite a spiritual guy himself. Now, these two minds, I'd say, but the band and him come together, and they have this vision that they're going to put out an album on over 500 million devices for free, which some people thought was a bit of a infringement of privacy, but this album nevertheless went out to over 500 million iPhones and iPods all over the world, and it's called Songs of Innocence by U2. So U2 was the band. If you look up, U2 have actually done quite a lot of charitable stuff. So now you've got this really charitable band, Songs of Innocence. You've got a guy called Steve Jobs, and they've put out this album to everybody. Now, if you feel you're quite awake, I'd like you to go and listen to this album. It's probably already on your phone. If not, I'd definitely recommend going to buy a copy of it. Now listen to this album from start to finish and tell me you don't get shivers about the lyrics in these songs. Now Steve Jobs' company, Apple, what's the symbol for this company? It is an apple that was bitten by Adam and Eve. Now when did the human race become fascinated or infatuated with the fact that they were all of a sudden naked? When did they start to become conscious of the fact that they were embarrassed of their bodies when Adam and Eve bit that apple? So let that sink in. I think you've probably noticed by now I already have.